On the 22nd of August 2015, thousands of people were enjoying the Shoreham Airshow, an annual event which took place in the county of West Sussex in the UK. At around 1:15 p.m, the spectators began watching the aerobatics display of a Hawker Hunter aircraft flown by a man called Andy Hill. He had a history of reckless disregard for the rules, and his arrogance would result in the second worst airshow disaster in the UK, when at 1:22 p.m, he performed a loop, giving himself no time to pull up, meaning that the aircraft slammed into a nearby major road, creating a fireball that killed 11 people. As if the tragedy was not bad enough, Hill survived and suffered no legal consequences. Welcome to Tales of Tragedy. For today's tale, we go back almost 10 years to 2015 and travel to the United Kingdom. In the UK, like many other countries around the globe, airshows are a popular spectacle. They give people the opportunity to see state-of-the-art military aircraft and vintage planes in action, as well as sit in mock-ups of jets, with this often being the closest that many of us will ever get to living out our dreams of being a fighter pilot. Often, the highlight of the show are spectacular aerobatic displays performed by teams such as the Red Arrows in the UK, the Blue Angels in the US, and the Air Force Roulettes in Australia. In the UK, air displays are governed by the Civil Aviation Authority. In order to fly in an air show, a pilot needs a current licence with up-to-date medical checks and certificates of experience. They must also hold a separate authorisation to take part in air displays, and their competence is assessed up to different levels of expertise, from simple flypasts to formation flying or aerobatics. Pilots have to fly in at least 3 displays or practice displays in the 3 months before the show, including at least one of these being in the aircraft they'll use during the show itself. This is because of the potential fatal consequences that can occur at an air show if something were to go wrong. There are thousands of spectators, other aircraft, roads, and houses nearby. The display pilots need to be the best of the best to mitigate these risks. Without these sorts of safeguards, people die, like the 77 people who lost their lives at the Skin Live Air Show in 2002, and the 10 spectators who never returned home after attending the 2011 Reno Air Races. Andy Hill, the 51-year-old pilot responsible for the Shoreham Air crash, was not even close to being elite. On paper, he was an experienced pilot who served in the Royal Air Force and had experience flying Harrier jump jets and the aircraft involved in this crash, the Hawker Hunter. He was also an instructor in the RAF before moving on to commercial flying, working at Virgin Atlantic and then British Airways, where he attained the rank of captain. He had logged 14,249 flight hours by the time of the accident and was an experienced aerobatics display pilot, performing at various shows across the country, predominantly in the Vans VR8 and BAC Jet Provost. However, Hill was also arrogant and cavalier and should have lost his licence due to a string of reckless incidents the year before the disaster. During a practice display for the Duxford Air Show in Cambridgeshire in August 2014, Hill flew over the crowd line and twice over the M11 motorway. He flew at 200 feet and 250 feet rather than 500 feet. On the 30th of August 2014, at the Shoreham Airshow, the display the year before the tragedy, Hill had been reprimanded for flying over a local college and congested populated areas which were outside of the designated flying area. Next, whilst flying at the Southport Airshow near Blackpool on the 20th of September 2014, Hill performed a dangerous manoeuvre in the Jet Provost that he was flying. A witness described what happened, saying, quote, "The plane started heading towards the beach, towards where the spectators were stood watching, quite low and fast and scary. Last minute, as he was approaching, he banked off to one side to avoid colliding into the crowd, and it frightened a lot of people. People were talking about it immediately afterwards, about how close it had got and how quick and low the plane was." After this, the display was immediately halted when Hill received a stop call from the control tower, as they felt he was putting people's lives in danger. It seems Hill was reprimanded, but he didn't lose his licence. A text he sent around this time said, quote, "One fuck up by me, suitably debriefed." However, Andy Hill seemed incapable of learning from his mistakes. I've no doubt that he loved to show off, to push the limits. He was willing to put the lives of others at risk, just to show how great a pilot he was. Despite these concerns, he was hired to perform aerobatics at the Shoreham Airshow on Saturday the 22nd of August 2015, a decision which would result in the deaths of 11 people. At around 1:15 p.m. on Saturday, August the 22nd, 2015, crowds at the Shoreham Airshow were watching the aerobatics display of Andy Hill, who, on that day, was flying a Hawker Hunter jet, which was first introduced into service in 1954 and had an illustrious career in the Royal Air Force before being decommissioned in the 1990s. With a top speed of Mach 0.94 or around 720 miles an hour, it's long been eclipsed in terms of speed and manoeuvrability, but it's a beloved aircraft with enthusiasts as it stands as a symbol of British engineering, so thousands of people were watching the display and also recording it. The display area was bounded by the town of Shoreham in the east, and in the north, the A27 dual carriageway, a major road in the south of England which connects the counties of Wiltshire, Hampshire, West Sussex and finally East Sussex. At 1:22 p.m, Andy Hill began a manoeuvre known as a bent loop, as shown by this diagram. In order to perform it successfully and safely, three things are important: the starting height, the speed of the aircraft going into the loop, and the height at the apex of the manoeuvre. To do it safely, the manoeuvre should start at around 500 feet, with full power being applied going into the climb, with the safe height of the apex being around 4,200 feet, giving enough room to recover the aircraft and leave 500 feet clearance above the ground. However, Hill started his loop at just 200 feet above the ground and didn't apply full power going into the climb, so the aircraft struggled to gain height, and so it only reached an apex height of 2,700 feet, meaning that he had about 1,500 feet less to recover the aircraft as it exited the loop. Due to this, he was unable to pull the aircraft up in time, and at 1:22 p.m, the 8-ton Hawker Hunter aircraft crashed into the A27 dual carriageway at around 225 knots, so around 260 miles an hour, ripping into four and igniting the fuel, which created a huge fireball which destroyed 8 vehicles. I'll now play a selection of clips from the incident, including the loop itself and various angles of the crash. 11 people were killed in this fireball. This included 76-year-old wedding chauffeur Maurice Abrams, who was driving a limousine to collect a bride on her wedding day. The limousine was knocked to the other side of the road by the force of the explosion. Friends Matthew Grimston and Jacob Schilt, both 23, were on their way to play football when the car they were travelling in was caught in the fireball. Matt Jones, aged 24, had given a lift to his colleague Danielle Polito, aged 23. They were killed as they drove to a construction job in Shoreham. Graham Mallinson, aged 72, Mark Reeves, aged 53, and Mark Trussler, aged 54, were three men, not known to each other, who were all standing on the side of the A27, having gotten out of their vehicles to watch the air show and take photographs. Tony Brightwell, aged 53, was killed while cycling to the air show. Lastly, friends Dylan Archer, aged 42, and Richard Smith, aged 26, were cycling to meet friends when they were killed in the explosion of the aircraft. As well as these 11 deaths, 15 other motorists and pedestrians were seriously injured. Unbelievably, Andy Hill, the pilot, survived. When the aircraft broke up, he was thrown clear and was found in some brambles near the side of the road, still strapped into his ejector seat. He was airlifted to the Royal Sussex County Hospital in nearby Brighton in critical condition, suffering from injuries including collapsed lung and fractured ribs and shoulder, and he was placed in a medically induced coma for a week. He pulled through and was discharged from hospital in September 2015, a month after the crash. Two investigations ran in parallel in the aftermath of the crash. The Air Accidents Investigation Branch, the AAIB, responsible for investigating civil aviation accidents and incidents in the United Kingdom, sent a team to Shoreham to gather evidence to determine the cause of the disaster, and Sussex Police opened a criminal investigation into the accident. In March 2017, the AAIB published their final report, concluding that pilot error was the cause of the crash. This report, and further evidence gathered by the police, meant that in March 2018, the Crown Prosecution Service charged Andy Hill with 11 counts of manslaughter by gross negligence. Hill's trial took place at the Old Bailey in London after he pleaded not guilty to all charges, with him claiming that he blacked out due to excessive G-force during the flight, and this had caused the crash. Remarkably, in January 2019, at the conclusion of the trial, Andy Hill was acquitted of all charges and walked free from court. In December 2022, a coroner's inquest took place, which is standard due to an unexpected passing, where a ruling is given on the cause of death. The coroner, like the accident report, put the blame squarely on the shoulders of Andy Hill, saying that the 11 victims in this case died as a result of his recklessness, and his flying being described as, quote, exceptionally bad. However, the coroner's ruling was not legally binding. It wouldn't result in further arrest or court proceedings. The worst that happened to Andy Hill was that he lost his licence. In December 2023, Andy Hill reapplied for his pilot's licence, to the horror of the victims' families, who vowed to fight its reinstatement. As of February 2024, there are no further updates regarding the outcome of his application. Airshows continue to be held around the UK to this day, but now with the recommendations from the Shoreham Air crash investigation being implemented, including having an increased distance between the display area and the spectators, as well as a greater minimum height at which aircraft can undertake aerobatic manoeuvres, and strengthening the competency requirements for pilots to perform at displays. The 2015 Airshow was the last held at Shoreham. The event was cancelled permanently out of respect for the victims and their families. A memorial was unveiled in 2019 and is located near the Shoreham Toll Bridge. It includes a memorial bench and 11 individually crafted arches, one for each person who lost their life. It's a place where the victims' families can feel closer to their loved ones, but also where visitors can come and pay their respects to those lost. Thank you for watching. Please like, share and subscribe, but also check out my second channel called Evil Among Us, which focuses on true crime, link in the description. Take care, and I'll see you in the next one.